that pasted in my sketchbook
oh my
everywhere.
God, I love that. I mean, it's always there hanging out in the corner. It's always lurking. Every time I would open my sketchbook or go on my Cintiq, I would just have this critical voice just screaming at me.
Tell me your favorite quote, but like in your own words.
Oh, that's a tough one, Nicole. That's an icebreaker. Oh God. Favorite quotes. That's a tough one. Ooh, okay. I mean, I like this one that's basically, why do you this is more of something that I struggle with, which is creating for the sense of, it's kind of like what you want to talk about today, art and fear. And it's kind of like this woman is talking to her therapist, and her therapist is asking her why she struggles to write, because this woman's a writer. And this woman's like, because it's me. It has to be perfect in every way because it's me. And for me, that's so poignant, because I think so many of us struggle with perfection and with being the best versions of ourselves, to the point where we censor ourselves. So I love this the pain in that quote, which is just basically sometimes we don't want to reveal ourselves, the parts of ourselves that we banish and kind of run away from. So yeah, that's, even though it's a bit sad, that's kind of my favorite quote because it's so relatable.
Yeah, that's such a lovely quote. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always gets me.
So what role has fear played in your own art?
I mean, it's always there hanging out in the corner. It's always lurking. I think that with fear, it's something that we all experience. And, you know, usually it creeps up on us. Usually, like recently, I was going through a bout of an art block. And sometimes I think there's an art block where you need to take a step back and just kind of go live your life. But there's also this period, there's also this different one, which is distinct from kind of taking a step back, where you just avoid it. You just avoid thinking about art. You're avoiding doing things that you love because you're scared. And it creeps up on you in a way, because usually it's not art that upsets you. Sometimes you have like difficult time with family, you know, maybe something bad happens in your personal life, whatever. And that's kind of what happened to me, where I just suddenly, like every time I would open my sketchbook or go on my Cintiq, I would just have this critical voice just screaming at me. So it's definitely there. It's always a battle, you know, sometimes you'll win some, sometimes you'll lose some, but the point is you never give up. And honestly, the more mistakes you make, the more successful you become. So I've adopted a kind of value where making mistakes is good. Like I crave mistakes. And I know that kind of sounds like what's the opposite from what I just said, where I'm scared of mistakes, but I think it's kind of like it's a love-hate relationship. And it's just all about that balance where you take time to just let yourself be scared and then go, okay, I can feel the fear. I can literally physically feel it. It's making me not want to open my laptop. It's making me feel sweaty. I'm gonna sit with it for a second, and I'm gonna go on my laptop and I'm gonna draw for a bit and see how that feels. So I think it's about acknowledging, number one. Number two, accepting. And then number three is doing it anyway, but maybe in small steps. Yeah.
That's lovely. That reminds me of something that you mentioned to me a while back. You said failing is falling upwards. I have that pasted in my sketchbook everywhere.
God, I love that.
But yeah, it's such a wonderful quote, and it definitely like changed my mindset about art. I'm really, really interested, like how you just explained about how that resonates in your life. Like, what does it mean to you and the art that you create?
Yeah, so I mean, failing upward is the perfect, I don't even remember saying that. I mean, you know, go past more. But yeah, it's literally just about, like, I think it was a friend who told me about it, where I was asking him, like, how do you accept failure? And he used to be a businessman, and he told me, like, every time he'd go up to shops where he know he's gonna get a no, and he'll just hear the no. He just went to hear the no, and sometimes he'll get a yes, you know. And to me, that was so powerful because I do the opposite sometimes where I'll be like, oh, they're going to say no. So why even ask?
Yeah.
You know?
Mhm.
And I think we all do that. And we forget that we are allowed to take space up in this world. We're allowed to make mistakes. We're allowed to look stupid in front of others for the sake of our growth and our well-being. You know, I think it's just about letting go of how we look when we make mistakes. I think that's the hardest part, is failing in front of others. But once we realize that everybody else is failing too, in multitude of ways, that's the only way successful people become successful, is by learning how to adapt to mistakes, learning to adapt to failures. There's this concept, the fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And I fucking love this so much. It's basically a fixed mindset. You can be fixed and growth in different things, but basically a fixed mindset is kind of being like, oh, I can't, what's the word? I can't do a push-up. I'm never going to be able to do a push-up. This sucks. And you kind of just leave it at that. Versus someone who tries to do a push-up and they're like, wow, I can't do a push-up. I'm going to go research this. What kind of exercises are going to help me get to the push-up? So it's kind of about adapting. Literally, it's about going from A to B and not feeling bad about it and not avoiding it and just accepting that it has to happen to get to E or C, like whatever. And it's kind of like really cool because you can have a growth mindset in one thing. Like maybe you'll be super great when it comes to your workouts, you'll be always adapting and stuff, but with your art you'll just be like, oh, I can't get better, I just don't know how to do this, so that's just me. And I think that comes from a self-coping mechanism where you're scared, and that's okay, but kind of just understanding that the world is so large. Like literally so many things have happened in this world. Like Trump became president, you know, like it's insane. The world is insane. And you have to accept that just because you've failed maybe 100 times, maybe 101 times will be the time that you actually do it. You have to accept that the world is bigger than your patterns in the past. Don't like turn it into a self-fulfilling prophecy when you just stay in the same mindset of, oh, I'm gonna fail because I failed before.